When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born, and with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenova. For you, Dad. For you.
We call ourselves Phenomenova. Yesterday, the Stormbearers, a deadly group of mercenaries, took control of a nuclear reactor. Before we arrived on the scene, Galvanite, a superpowered teenage boy, attempted to stop them. He failed. His story ended there that day. Ours began shortly after. Today, I sift through the memories of that day. I will put the pieces together, and we will bring those responsible to justice.
Someone says, what's the future? Vaughn Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. What's going on, guys? Today, this has been a long time coming. We just came back from John's channel. I'm hoping some more people come in. I sent the link to a bunch of people, a bunch of maybes, and I'm hoping they come in.
A bunch of babies?
Maybe.
Oh.
Babies have not read this run. But, dude, this is, I mean, just so good. And I'm so, it's bittersweet, but, you know, I'm glad I'm done with this run and then I can move to the next one. This is just some of the best.
So what did you start with? Issue?
So, Giant Size X-Men #1.
Okay. So you started at the beginning of the new X-Men. All right.
And then from there, I went into 94. and then I followed a reading order. So, all right. So for context, because I think that's important, I should have an X-Men related. Sorry, my launch party background. I should have. Do I have anything X-Men? All right. You know what? We're just gonna keep it like this for now. It should have been an X-Men related background, but what are you gonna do? Do I really not have one on here? All right, whatever. It's been such a great run, really has. And I read all 100 issues of New Mutants. I read 80 issues of X Factor, the annuals for those. A lot of the spin-offs and miniseries. I read 30 something of Wolverine. A lot of the Marvel Comics Presents, like 60 issues worth of those X-related stories. I've read Weapon X. So I read a lot of stuff. And then I'm kind of capping it off. Like I didn't read X-Force #1. I didn't read Sir Peter David's X Factor because I know I'm just going to want to be doing that. And I decided to stick with what I have. And I got to say, it was pretty good. I read to Uncanny X-Men 280, so I finished up the Muir Isle saga. And then I hopped on over to X-Men 1 through 3.
If anybody, first off, I'm John from John's Long Box. Every Sunday I do a show called Sunday Comics. 10,
yeah, you've been doing it. I've been enjoying it.
And I've been doing the X-Men.
Yeah.
Just I felt nostalgic for these old wonderful comics. So I started with Giant Size X-Men =1. And I'm good. I did 100 last week, but I messed up. I forgot to do 99. So this week I'll do 99. So we're doing the first and talking about it. We spend like a good hour going through the comic, talking about a lot of people in the comments. But if you're not familiar with these comics, check out. I made a playlist of them all.
I should. I'm only able to hop in for bits at a time, but I always enjoy it.
But they really are. I think just some of the best, and they were so different than everything else at the time. Like if anybody doesn't know me, one of my things about superheroes is the superhero name to me is like the focus of the character. And before the X-Men, everybody's names was like Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, you know what I mean? Like the Human Torch, Captain America, which are cool names. But then the X-Men came around, even the original X-Men, like you had Angel, Cyclops.
Yeah, like the one word, which has become almost, I feel like, more common now.
Yeah.
Like even with me, that's almost like my default is to come up with just one word.
And like Marvel Girl was like the name that like didn't fit the X-Men, which is I think why she's always referred to as Jean Grey. But then when they changed her name,
Pride too, they do that with.
Yeah, when they changed her name to Phoenix, it was just like she just fit. It was just, But man, great costume designs, good stories.
At first I didn't like the Marvel Girl costume, and now I love it. The green dress. I used to not. When I first saw it, I was like, "That's Jean Grey. That doesn't look like Jean Grey." Because I had never seen it, and now I love it.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Well, I take it back. The Green Phoenix costume is one of the best superhero costumes of all time. It's so
and
good.
the red one works too.
The red one works too. But yeah, she's a villain at that point. But
but the Marvel Girl one, I think I get what you're saying because I used to not like it, and then it really grew on me.
It's a product of its time. Like you wouldn't, like, you're making comics now. You wouldn't make a girl with those type. I mean, I would, but but she would have to. It's like a kind of like she's got throwback powers, like
Yeah, like something like telekinesis. That kind of outfit could work.
Yeah, I'm thinking like her whole her whole gimmick is like maybe if she was like, I don't know. I'm being cagey because I don't. Every time I give a name out, I find like it shows up.
Yeah, don't then keep it. Don't let anyone have your ideas then.
Yeah, but like if the whole shtick was she was supposed to be like from the 60s or something like that, or you know what I mean, or old fashioned, something like that. But I know I like Marvel Girls costume, but there was no other comic at the time that was like so, like it had 3 stories going on at a time, A story, B story, a plot. Like it was developing. Like a couple of years later, I think New Teen Titans was the closest. You haven't read the New Teen Titans?
I've read the first 28 issues, but I didn't read it as adamantly as X-Men because that was like mostly on X-Men. But every time I'd read New Teen Titans, I'd be like, "This is cool."
Because I'm trying to think.
It is great.
Like at the time, there was Avengers. Defenders was always like a crazy back. But X-Men was just unique. It had some of the best art, some great characterization, and like it had diversity back before people even thought of the word diversity. Like
yeah. It
like
did.
you had an African, a Russian, a German, a Canadian, a white guy, But the thing is, they were unique. They were cool. They each
Had something outside of that. Yeah.
Right. Everybody had their favorite character, but but they all stood out. Like they all shined. It wasn't. I don't know. He just, it was lightning in a bottle. And the funny thing is, around X-Men 150, I started to get annoyed of the X-Men because they started to whine too much. Nobody likes us, and you know what I mean. And I used to say, like, I can't wait till Chris Claremont quits, and then somebody, he's
really,
and then be careful what you wish for. And then Chris Claremont quit, and then it was just like, X-Men they just wallowed in like identity politics for so long.
See, I didn't because I haven't read much outside. Like most of my X-Men has been Chris. There we go. That's better.
What was the last X-Men of the original Uncanny X-Men? When did Chris Claremont leave the Uncanny?
That was 279. So it was halfway through the storyline that apparently wasn't gonna end there. Like, so I was looking into it. The Shadow King was going to be a much longer running. I think by that point, what had happened was he had gotten used to doing these long running plot lines, and he started to juggle multiple at a time.
Yeah.
And I think maybe editors might have gotten annoyed, and I do understand that to an extent. So, like, I would say he gets more and more experimental, and then by the end, what I like is it kind of gets back to standard superhero affair. But maybe I think his hand might have been guided a bit. It led to that point, but I think that the Siege Perilous stuff went on a little too long. But I ultimately still ended up enjoying a lot of it. Well, because here's the thing: he had earned my faith as a writer. That I was like, all right, we're gonna get back.
Yeah, he under the Jim Shooter years, Jim Shooter kept everything tight and concise. But after Jim Shooter left, I started to notice the stories kind of dragged on. He would introduce subplots. At one point, I remember my friend Carl, my childhood friend, we were keeping track of all the subplots that never got resolved. I wish I could find that it was written in that yellow legal paper, and I wonder if they ever got resolved sooner or later. But like, it just got to be like, come on, resolve some of these stories. You need some satisfaction, just finish what you started. But ultimately, what got me to drop the X-Men, they were my favorite comic book by far, and I dropped them because they started to become hypocrites.
Yeah.
We want to be treated just like everybody else, except when we get arrested and stand trial for our crimes, and then we're going to break Magneto out, and then we're going to harbor Magneto in our mansion, and then Magneto's going to steal all our technology and leave. But we just want to be treated like everybody else, except when Sabretooth gets arrested. Then we're going to break him out and harbor him in our X-Mansion.
Well, when did that happen with Sabretooth? Because that wasn't during Claremont's run.
Yeah, that was later on.
Okay, because Magneto, even then, what I liked about it is they were on shaky. You always had the impression that Magneto was a ticking time bomb, like that was never going to work.
To me, like Dr. Doom, Magneto and Dr. Doom to me are like flip sides of the same coin. Like they're both these megalomaniacs that think that they're better than they are. And I think they both play with the idea of being good guys every once, but ultimately they're bad. They're selfish.
Yeah, and I think this is what I had the problem with. And this is where I think that Claremont was a man who could tell a concise story if he wanted to. But he also had grander visions. And I think that's why he's my favorite writer, is because he was able to do both very well. And you could always, like, even if there's a story where I'm like, that kind of left me there. Usually later on, I'm like, okay, I'm glad we got that delayed gratification, because when we get here, man, does it feel good. And that happens multiple times, to the point where one of the things we remember most, Dark Phoenix, that was 40 issues of buildup. Inferno, God, how many issues of buildup? You had Fall of the Mutants. That was a buildup. Mutant Massacre really wasn't. It was buildup in the sense that you got the But even then, like what we're looking at the background, that was a product of. I mean, the X-Men you see back there are so different from, because they had been through so much. And I think one of the things that he was so good at was kind of just like leaving stuff out there down to Magneto. Where are we going with this character? Why are we having him do this? Because some of it, admittedly, when he's there, I'm like, okay, I kind of miss villain Magneto. He's not really working as the headmaster, but to me, it kind of worked because ultimately you have that moment where he has that deliberate choice. I think that Savage Land Rogue storyline is one of the best Magneto stories ever, where you have Zaladane and he's got her and they're like, all right, we got her. We can arrest her now. And he deliberately has the chance to do the right thing. And he rationalizes it and then just kills her. And to me, that is like when he chooses to be a villain. And then I think that's why I actually think that last 3 issue storyline, he didn't get to do all of his plots, but I think Chris Claremont was like, okay, I have 3 issues with this X-Men to wrap it up. I think the Muir Island saga, him quitting halfway through, kind of showed. You could kind of tell, though, that he tried to do the whole, because he introduced the idea that the Shadow King was the first villain. So them going back and fighting the villain that they started was cool in concept. It was obviously rushed, and I wish he had written the finale instead of Fabian Nicieza. But Fabian did a good enough job at Claremont stuff. But anyway, the X-Men 1 to 3, where they have that final confrontation with Magneto, and then they beautifully have that Magneto gives his thoughts to the X-Men only for Xavier to rebut them. And I'm like, he basically spells out perfectly what the X-Men are, that maybe Magneto could be right. He's probably not, but maybe he could be, but they're going to keep fighting for this dream because it is the right thing to do. And I was like, if every single modern writer needs to read those pages, because they are like, you guys are straight up agreeing with Magneto. Like, they're agreeing with Magneto.
Right.
I'm like, he's the villain. What are you doing?
Yep, I agree. Magneto works best as the bad guy. He's supposed to be the zealot. He's supposed to be unrepentant, mutant rights. You're not supposed to side with him. What does he say? Fabian and Scott Lobdell were 290s. Every character had to have a tragic story and angst.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fine. X-Men of Muir Island was the greatest never used version of the team. Discuss over an stream. Are you referring to that storyline, by the way? That was another reason why I really liked. I can't hate that Siege Perilous era where they go through and the X-Men are all over the world. I know some people don't, but I actually think that's some really cool stuff.
My biggest problem with that is they met that what was his name? The Aborigine guy that
Gateway. He's so boring.
Yeah, he was a device.
That's all he was.
Nothing, and he was just like, "Oh, the X-Men are all the way out the outback. How are they going to get back into? We can't just keep having stories in the middle of nowhere. Oh, we're going to invent a character who's just a plot device."
Yeah, he literally doesn't say or do anything. He's so boring. That's exactly what he is. And I had characters. Because one of the things I realized in my superhero universe is teleportation is one of those powers where
it's super powerful.
It's one of the most useful powers ever. And I realized, I'm like, okay, whenever there's a character that has teleportation powers, they're like a hot commodity in the superhero universe. They were a hot commodity in the war, in World War III. I'll expand on that in the war. They're a hot commodity now. You may or may not see some teleportation in Phenomenova issue 3, but we'll see.
Getting supplies to where they're needed is one of the basic problems of throughout human history. Enough food. This place has excess. This place has, what I mean? That's what economies are managed. The Roman Empire built roads thousands of miles. Teleportation is the single most useful power. Second would probably be like healing or something like that.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
Nightcrawler, by the way. I love that he has the right amount of limitation.
I like his, and I remember this is so nerdy. Back probably when you were an embryo, there was a site called there was forums on the internet, like DC and Marvel would have forums. And I used to be like up till 3:00 in the morning fighting with people. Somebody disagrees about Nightcrawler, but they would have like fights like on my channel on Friday nights at 8:30, we do It's Clobbering Time. This week, the Absorbing Man versus Metamorpho, and we do it in fun. Like, we don't get mad, but man, back then we used to. And this one guy used to say that Nightcrawler could beat Superman because all he would have to do is grab Superman's head and teleport, and Superman's head would be ripped off. And
I remember you talking. That's not how the powers
that's
work.
not how it works. Like what you said was perfect. Nightcrawler, Chris Claremont gave Nightcrawler the perfect natural limitations. He had to physically be able to lift something to teleport it. You know what I mean? And it, and he couldn't just grab.
1 second, we got someone joining the conversation. What's up, Professor? How you doing?
Hey, Professor Savage there.
What's up, guys?
We're talking Nightcrawler, who's one of my top 3, by the way. Top 3 for me.
Let me ask you this, Vaughn. Could Nightcrawler teleport onto a statue of like George Washington and then grab George Washington's figure and then teleport just George Washington off the horse?
Only if he was thrust through with a momentum and then teleport, because it's entirely dependent.
That would kill Nightcrawler. He's not strong enough to withstand. What I mean?
No, yeah, exactly. No, that's one of the things I liked, and this is a problem I have, and I'm trying to find a balance, because one of the problems with making comics more cinematic, and I come from the film space first and foremost, is kind of trying to maximize comics. And the fact of the matter is, well, people don't like wordy stories. Sometimes those extra words really go a long way, man. They really do. Like when Nightcrawler would be like, "Oh, this is causing such a strain," And one of the things that surprised me going back, because I'd seen the movies and I'd seen a lot of the animated shows, and going back and revisiting, is how heavily restricted Nightcrawler was in the beginning with his teleportation. Like his secondary power now, because like I'm used to it in X-Men 2. He's teleporting all over, and eventually he gets to that point, but you see him earn that, and I really like that.
In X-Men 94 they're falling from the plane, and Nightcrawler's like, if I teleport, I'm just going to hit the ground at the same velocity and get killed. That was like
so cool. I forgot about that.
And then Rogue, I remember Rogue was fighting Nimrod. I forget which issue number it is, but she absorbs Colossus's powers.
Oh, that was so cool. That cover where
and what she does is she grabs Nimrod and teleports. And then because she's got Nightcrawler's power, Colossus's strength, and her own powers, and she like literally rips Nimrod in half, but she's also laying on the ground. And she says that would have killed Nightcrawler. Like, Nightcrawler wouldn't have been able to do that, but because she had 4 superhero power, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
That was a fun use of the power. But yes, back to Nightcrawler. If he grabbed Superman's head and tried to teleport, that would probably kill Nightcrawler. You know what I mean? He's not strong enough.
Yeah.
That would cause some sort of like, strain on him. That would, just a regular guy's head. He probably couldn't rip a regular guy's head, but he could teleport with the, what I mean? Like,
he'd take the whole person with him, I would think, more than he would. Simply. That was always an interesting aspect of, and that was one of the things I always appreciated that Claremont brought. He might be one of the first people to really explore the depths of the powers of what the inherent powers that the X-Men had, like what it really meant, what you could, like the things you could really do with them. Like, he thought it through. And that was always so fucking cool.
I love
that.
And I know a few people, like Gail Simone's always cheeky about this, but Cyclops, when he shoots his eye blast, he's shooting concussive force.
No, yeah, that's a big thing. Again, my character Vivacity, she absorbs. I took Cyclops' original thing. She absorbs solar energy and makes concussive force. It's not heat,
Yes.
Yeah, because a few times I know one specific. I think it's on an X-Men cover. Cyclops is shooting an I-beam, and the I-beam is melting. Steel girder. It's like.
Okay, so there's like one instance, and
they've done messed up AA Ron. You know what I mean? Like, but I love that, and I remember in John Byrne when the Skrulls turned into the X-Men and were fighting the Fantastic Four, the Skrull disguised as Cyclops shoots Ben Grimm, the Thing, in the chest, and then he goes, "Ow, that's hot." He goes, Cyclops beams aren't hot. He goes,
I didn't know that.
Scroll. And he figures it out. And he goes, "Now I don't have to hold back." And he just wails the scroll. And you see green, purple scrolls going all over the place.
That's cool. All right. So speaking of scrolls, one of the last couple storylines, because I think people, it's weird because I'm at a point, and I already want to go back and revisit after just finishing, and I'm not going to because I have a ton of other stuff. I definitely eventually do, but I was always excited to get to the later stuff. But I forget how good I had it in the earlier days because his whole run is good. But one of the stuff, the storytelling gets really advanced later on. There's so many moving parts and characters, but that also there's some stories, like, I'll be honest, someone pointed out on the live stream, and I realized this. I've never been excited when the Shi'ar Empire showed up.
Oh, I love the Shi'ar Empire.
I think
how can you not?
I like that they exist.
How can you not like
They're
those bug
fucking
ships?
boring.
Their technology looked like bug ships, and then Gladiator was going to show up, and I mean, first off, I think the first time the Shi'ar Empire showed up, I was in like 5th grade, so Empire Strikes Back was out. So how anything space. X-Men was it 166? Emperor Leandra has a lightsaber on the cover with
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, but I don't hate the Shi'ar, for the record. Like, I love the Phoenix Saga.
Dale A says, can he offer a counterpart on the Claremont phrase?
Of course, go ahead. By the way, hey now, Gateway played the flute for Rogue in exchange for cake. You did do that once, right? Isn't that, or is that a reference?
While Dale is whipping up his retort, can I say a very unpopular thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Unpopular things. Rogue, her power is she touches you, she absorbs your psyche, she absorbs your powers, she absorbs your memory. It's basically an invasion of your privacy, right? Right. It's a power that and it could kill you. It physically weakens you, and it could kill you, and it's power. But eventually, she relinquishes them. You get your vitality back. You get your powers back. Or whatever. That's what makes Rogue what she is. She never should have retained Captain Marvel's powers or Carol Danvers' powers. Because her main power, what set her apart from everybody else, became her secondary attribute. She became flying invulnerable girl, and then later on she would absorb people. It's like, I'm Cyclops, but I fly and I'm invulnerable, and I could smash through walls, and I have eye beams, and I'm named. You know what I mean? Like, she should have maybe like a year into it, Claremont should have been like, I'm losing these powers.
Yeah, I get it. Well, because to me, I found out after the fact that Rogue could fly and have super strength and vulnerability, because I knew the movies first, and Wolverine and the X-Men in that series, she's touching. So I was like, it was weird to me when I found out that she had that, and I had to get used to that.
It makes her Supergirl.
Yeah, that was what was weird in the animated series too. If you knew the books, I mean, you saw it in the books as well, but if you saw it in the movies, but that was the thing. Like, even in the animated series, it was always Carol's Danvers' powers they leaned into, and then in order to create drama with her and Remy or something, it was, I can't touch you, and it was used as kind of a almost at times not even a secondary attribute. It's almost as if it was ancillary. It was there as a plot driver for dramatic scenes more than it was a power that could have been used better. And I think Claremont dropped the ball there too. I agree with you, John. There's so many interesting things they could have done, like the thing with Colossus and Nightcrawler and all that other stuff that they really could have done with that they just leaned into her being.
Right. I agree, because
Carol Danvers.
I like seeing her throw down in action, but the thing is,
it's
such a unique power that it's like, I get it.
The thing about Rogue is I don't know if they planned on her showing up a lot, because when she showed up, she touched Thor, and Thor was defeated.
Well, because I remember when I first met Michael Golden, I asked him if they had planned on making her, and he was like, as far as I knew, she was going to be a villain. Like, I just designed a villain. Like, I don't think it was necessarily. Like, Chris might have planned it. I don't know. I'd have to ask Chris Claremont if he planned it.
For a villain, she was perfect.
She was a perfect villain. Like, she has a villain power, which I think is why she's an interesting hero.
Right. I have no problems with villains being a little bit too powerful, because villains fight teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Rogue, for a superhero, for a good guy, her powers weren't well thought out. So she could just go up and touch the villain. That guy's knocked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What should happen is, it should hurt to use her powers. She shouldn't want to do it. She should get lost. She touches Vaughn Coleman, and now for a minute or two, which is a big deal in a fight, she doesn't know if she's Vaughn or if she's Rogue, and she can't.
And then I can't hit a woman.
Be reluctant to use her powers.
Well, and that was the thing that I think they brought in later, in other iterations of Rogue, where she was reluctant. It was this thing that she didn't want to do. It like in the movies, you saw that. In some of the later cartoons, you saw them delve into more of like what it meant to do that. But it would break her psyche. It would have these long lasting emotional impacts on her, which made sense. And it's so disappointing that Claremont didn't live in that longer with her. I think she would have been perfect as a villain and a good redemption arc at the end. Years of being a villain, and then you kind of see this earned redemption would have been a really great character arc for Rogue. That I think would have been such a great way to be introduced to the character. No, we didn't.
So Magneto's fight. So she just walks up and touches Magneto. Fight's over because Magneto's on the ground. But it should be like. Somebody like Magneto, he's got a strong enough. Like I can't help but think of Dungeons and Dragons. Magneto has a saving throw, so he breaks off. So she gets a portion of his powers. Magneto's still up and still can fight, but now she's got some magnetic power. But somebody like the Toad, maybe that guy succumbs to her full power, and then through training and danger room sessions and Xavier, she could touch Cyclops, and Cyclops doesn't even lose his powers or anything like that. They train. Yeah. Now she's got I-beams. You know what I mean? Or
that was an interesting, weird. I felt it was kind of a cop out just to kind of put Rogue and Magneto in a romantic relationship that somehow his powers allowed her to touch him, and I'm like, that doesn't make a damn bit. That never made a damn bit of sense to me.
Well, they were losing their powers at the time,
right?
Because I read that. I actually liked that when I got there in the comics.
Right? There was something in the Savage Land that was hindering their abilities.
Yeah. I liked it when I got there to the Savage Land stuff, and then I got it to it at the perfect time because Tim Seeley was doing his whole thing. Thought that run was fine.
Dale gave his response. He was typing a lot, so I was just
overthinking. Rogue was and will be cool. Rogue is cool, but I'll be honest. I thought the same thing. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I've thought the same thing. I love Rogue, but I have thought that. Also, it's interesting how they made the character. She gradually got up with sex appeal. I feel like. She wasn't the hot, the girl she is in X-Men, the animated series, not who she was in the beginning. The whole confident, whatever. Because Anna Paquin I was like, wow. I remember, I discovered, I was like, why is Rogue considered one of the hottest characters? I watched her in the X-Men movies, and she was this mousy, and then I remember what's going on, Brian. I remember we're talking about Rogue, and I remember thinking
characters, and then Brian shows up. So there you go.
But I think Rogue, her being hotted out, kind of worked with the Savage Land. But it was weird when they were getting rid of the Carol Danvers stuff. I was like, oh, cool, she's ousting that. She can have her own identity, and she just kind of gets it back. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah, but you got to realize Rogue in the movies is not comic Rogue in almost any way. She was a weird amalgam of Jubilee and Kitty Pryde, really, is who she was supposed to be.
Yeah, she wasn't even Southern, was she?
No, not really. I don't think so. I don't remember her having an accent. I'd have to watch it.
No, she had a slight one.
I barely even remember her talking in the movie.
Yeah, it's something we didn't really focus in on, that there wasn't a lot of attention paid to.
I like the movie version. She was a person who was cursed with these powers.
Right. I mean,
don't get me started on the movie. Oh God, I talk about how I would have rewritten that movie a million times. It was just poorly written.
Right. The first X-Men movie is.
Oh, I like the first X-Men movie personally.
It's aight. It's mid, right? Yeah. But then X-Men 2 is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made.
See, I like the first one better. Hot take.
See, funny. I like X-Men.
I like the second one though.
I always kept my mouth quiet because everybody hated X-Men 2.
What?
Yeah,
that's the shit.
No, I liked X-Men 2.
Yeah,
so
just like Spider-Man 2. I think they found both of those early 2000s, Spider-Man and the X-Men were the first of this new era of comic films, and their sequels I think really found the stride for both of them. Spider-Man 2 might be the best comic book movie ever made, still to this day, as far as I'm concerned. I love that movie. I think that's fantastic. But X-Men 2 was absolutely a step up from the first movie.
Both of those were improvements on the first films, right? You kind of felt
you have to make that movie Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
You can even say that.
Yeah, I mean,
my wife loves Alfred Molina as Doc Ock still.
Oh
She
yeah,
heard me.
who doesn't?
oh yeah,
Can
no,
Can I give a 2-minute
Fantastic.
synopsis of how I would have done the X-Men movie?
Go ahead,
Real quick.
and then we'll get
Sure.
to Dale A's
It
comment.
starts out the same with Magneto in the concentration camp. We see all that stuff. That second scene we see Rogue. She's kissing her boyfriend. Same thing happens, and then the cops come. She gets arrested, goes to jail. So far the movie starts out the same. Now she's being arraigned, and people just like outside the courthouse, mutants, 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 mutants. She's going into the courthouse. She's got restraints. You got the politicians talking about mutants and everything like that. X-Men and the evil mutants show up and break her out of jail. You're never going to get your day in court. We don't deserve this. We're homo superior. They have no right to judge us. And the X-Men come to fight the New Mutants so that Rogue goes to court and to have the legal system establish mutant rights.
That's pretty clever.
You know what I mean? And now, so like Rogue is just like, I don't want to go to jail. Like she doesn't trust the X-Men. She doesn't want to go to jail. She doesn't want to go to court. You know what I mean? And now Xavier has to explain to her, nothing's ever given to us. It has to be, we have to go through a legal system. The humanity never dealt with anything like this. We have to normalize this. We have to go to court. We have to get legal precedences. We have to go through the whole legal system because we're just like everybody else, kind of thing. And I think that movie would have been important. It would have been a bit, instead,
but it wouldn't have been a legal case movie.
But there would have been fights. You know what I mean? There would have been Sentinels showing up. That X-Men. Back.
Right. It wouldn't be like a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to see that movie.
Instead, we're going to get Magneto's going to turn you into a fish for some reason.
There's a lot. Look, there's a lot of problems that I have with that first X-Men movie. It was interesting in the sense that it was approaching it a little bit less from a superhero standpoint, a little bit more from a science fiction premise.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, what if human beings were evolving in this way? And what if there was such a thing as Homo superior? But it did still have a sense of fun. It did still have a sense of adventure. Like
and it was cool to see.
Rough around the corners. A lot of things I would have done different. A lot of things I don't like. But it's like a 2.5-star movie out of 4 for me.
Real quick, I want to get to Dale A's. What's going on?
Yeah, he had some.
Claremont is great, but he has inspired tons of imitators, guilty as charged, over multiple iterations, which has been bad for comics as a whole. No. I get what you're saying because everyone thinks they could do the 50 different arcs. I do too. But I gotta simmer down. Claremont is like Joss Whedon or Quentin Tarantino, where entire generations try to emulate them, but are lesser writers and flood the market.
Yeah, but that's not Claremont.
Yes.
No, he's not saying that, but I get what he's saying. There's the Claremont effect.
Right.
Frank Miller, too, had that.
But
effect.
Also, look at all the good good ways that people
like Brian said, look at everybody who imitated Alan Moore or Frank Miller. You know what I mean?
So, in the 90s, it's like, the Dark Age, suddenly every new superhero was carrying a gun or a sword. I mean, that's when I stopped reading X-Men. It's like, what are the X-Men doing with fucking swords and guns?
Right.
All right, let's
use their powers.
That is weird.
One of the greatest X-Men stories of all time, 2 issues, Days of Future Past. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like every 3 years we have to revisit that story. Enough is enough.
See, I get what he's saying though. I do have this frustration with and it isn't even that the people that were inspired by him that are trying to copy him. It's that there are popular creatives. We could talk about Brian Michael Bendis for a long time, who would revisit things that had already happened because they had a good story to tell at one point that was their own and original, and they did something good, and I can't take that from them. But then they go and live in Chris Claremont's shoes or Frank Miller's shoes for an arc or two and just gum everything up, just make a mess out of it and don't really do it. And I really think that creatives have to get away from that. I don't want to see the Scarlet Witch go crazy for the 5th time in the Marvel universe. Okay. No. Let's just be done with that fucking arc and move on. Yeah. The same thing. I don't need to see Jean Grey go crazy. I don't need to see Sue Storm go crazy. Everybody who's done it before did it better.
Oh man.
I don't need to see the next generation of Summers Grey child come from the future.
All right.
I did a poll. Please, no more.
I did a poll on Twitter who the best future child of Cyclops is. I think Rachel is cooler than Cable.
I like Rachel better than Cable, but
Rachel guy here.
Rachel is so cool. I love her.
I don't know, man. I can't get away from like Cable was fucking cool when you didn't know who he was. The huge, I mean, I know it's a Rob Liefeld thing with the huge guns and the no feet and the big chest, but fuck, dude, he
and
was
a million
cool.
pouches.
Oh, all the pouches, dude. So many pouches that inspired that pouchy comic. There were so many pouches on him. Like that was the thing, though. He was so 90s. Like Cable epitomizes the look of every single male superhero in the 90s.
Yep.
If they didn't look like him, they tried to make him look like him. Like
I hate
that's
Cable.
how iconic he was.
Cable is my least favorite comic book character of all time.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I like the things he did in his story, but his entire existence is so convoluted and asinine. It's very hard to.
Cable is what you make. Cable is the superhero you make up when you're 7 years old.
Yes, that's exactly it.
He's from the future. He's got a bionic arm. His eye glows, and he's got telekinesis, but he's got a big freaking gun. And what's his name? Cable. It's like
and he can't use it because
and
reasons.
He's the son of the most important.
And then I'm gonna insert him into the two.
And
most
he's also a future rebellion leader,
and he's more powerful. Dude,
dog shit character.
He's the worst.
I mean, that whole era, I just think was just heinous. And I can actually remember, it's like great nowadays choice. It's okay to criticize Rob Liefeld, and I don't have anything against him as like a human being. Right, I actually really enjoy how raw and open he is in his interviews. Right, how he doesn't give a fuck. Right, but I always thought his art was dog shit. Yep. And I remember being in a comic book store and people were like, "What? You're not into Liefeld? Like, give me a break!" You know,
that is crazy because now it's almost like the reverse. Now it's like, you like him?
Yeah.
Well, there's such a good point to that to make is that like Liefeld. Like many of the other creators, I'm going to dog on everybody who basically left Marvel for Image for a second. Jim Lee, too lazy to keep any of his IP alive, so he sold it to DC. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, and then
he made great art, great stories, and then he walked away from all of it because he didn't want to do it. Same with J. Scott Campbell. Same with everybody but Todd McFarlane. Like the modern era's hardest working man in comics. Because he made it all work on his own. He kept it alive. He's the only person that left Marvel or DC, made his own industry. It's there. He made his own character that survived all of it. He worked on it night and day. He made his own toys. He made a whole giant toy company.
Oh my God.
Comic company. Toy.
Oh, McFarlane is, I mean, in terms of like indie innovation, Todd's the king. Like, no question.
Yeah, he's the king. Nobody can touch that.
I'm going to use Dale A's point. He said Chris Claremont, like all the I will go as far as say Image Comics was bad for the comic book industry. Image Comics.
You know what? I don't disagree, John, because it flooded the market.
They took mostly trash from Marvel, so then Marvel sucked, and then all of these raw rookie guys who were not ready for prime time went to Image and pumped out crap. And then what they do is they use computer graphics, they use computer coloring, they use better paper. So all the comic books got more expensive. Quality went down. Marvel sucked. Then DC started following suit with bad comics. It was just like 10 years of just.
You know what it was, John? It was because all of these artists who couldn't deal and work a 9-to-5 comic job with editors who kept their shit in line.
Correct. Absolutely.
And what happened? All of them dropped the ball on all of the best IPs they made. Does anybody remember Gen 13 and how fucking big that was? For 5 seconds.
I heard that one was good.
Gen 13
was really good.
It's the best of all the early Image comics.
Absolutely. And
I like Witchblade, but that
Campbell
was later.
Abandoned it in a hot second because they couldn't keep up the work. They did not. This was the thing about the artists doing that.
When you could play video games for 3 weeks and then go to a convention and make 10 grand.
Exactly. Exactly what they did.
And now you got $6 million in the bank and you marry some hot model. You don't want to work. You're not old. You got a hot model as a cow. And now you got 10 grand a month making over 100 grand a year in 1992.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying I'm saying I would do the same thing.
So here's this
Exactly.
is, and this is where we get into. Oh, sorry. I was going to say because we'll talk about go back to Claremont's run and everything, but I think we'll talk about the end and the way it kind of ended because you could see over the last couple issues, whether it's him, he almost becomes from the shepherd and the master of everything to ultimately, like, if you read that X Factor story where they send baby Cable to the future, although it's not revealed within the Claremont era that it is Cable, when they yoink the baby in the future, that story is devised by Wills and Jim Lee, and Chris was just writing their words, and he put his all in. Like, there's that moment where like he really reflects on Cyclops as a character, and I think it's a great character moment for Cyclops. But even then, Chris didn't want to write that story, and towards the end, you could kind of tell that it was like they were ultimately like, okay, buddy, the new guys are doing their thing. All right. We got to let you go. And I think ultimately, while I can understand why people I know the Siege Perilous stuff was a bit experimental, and I think there were some ideas that were great and some that weren't. I do get why things kind of went the way they did, but I think ultimately it was a detriment because everyone tells me, oh, Vaughn, dude, that issue you just read is great. It's a steep decline in the next couple issues. I'm like, oh, that's what I heard. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it was already taking a break from comics when that came out. I mean, the 90s for me was just like the 80s had been so wonderful with the, especially with the independent comics boom, where, I mean, my God, there was, how many indie publishers were there? There was Malibu, there was Dark Horse, of course, emerged.
Eclipse first.
Eclipse.
Yeah.
Valiant.
First comics, which was actually my favorite of the indies.
Yep.
You know, Nexus, Grimjack. Yeah, I mean, it was just like a really exciting time when there was such variety in terms of the comics that were coming out, right? It wasn't all cape shit. There was some cape shit, but, it was just such a great era. And then the 90s, it's just like that's when you got to every superhero character, every new one was like carrying a gun and wearing a trench coat or a sword or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like John was saying. Like,
hold on, Dark Gift didn't get to talk yet. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna throw in or the pockets. Every character
Pouches,
had all
yeah.
the pouches and pockets all over the place. Yeah, that's all.
I'd have lots.
I'm just trying to. I'm trying to like. I know I'm late, so I'm trying to like figure out where.
We've been jumping all over the.
What the conversation is before I jump in.
Where
But what I really want to know, because I think this is the most important question: what the fuck happened to John's beard?
Yeah,
I didn't want to say anything. I thought maybe it was a medical condition. That's a whole lot of beard to just let go of. I don't know.
I'm on a job where they're putting these 5 huge air handling units, air conditioners on. So first off, the building has no AC. So they took the old ones off and they're updating them, and they put tar all over the roof. And I'm an electrician. We got to drill holes in the ceiling and put the conduit through the roof.
So all this shit's coming down and hitting you in the
like, what the hell is they literally were pouring tar when it was 100 degrees last week.
Oh.
So the tar had never solidified. So I'm like, what is dripping on me? So what do you do? You look up. The whole right side of my face, had tar. And back in the old days when they tarred and feathered you, that was so. I as I was driving home, I was just like, I'm going right to the barber, and the barber didn't even use the clippers on me because he didn't want to ruin his. So he took a straight razor, and cut out all the pieces. So my face was burning. Oh my God! So there you go.
Oh yeah, there's a reason why tarring and feathering somebody was like such a severe punishment because it was impossible to get that shit off your body, man.
So I could have had
it burned. They didn't put it in cool.
I could have did the half, but
what's going on, Dean?
Hey, Dean.
It'll be back. It's funny because I was sitting right here doing my mail, and my wife comes home. She looks at me. She goes, "I hate it," and turns around and goes, "Bye."
I used to threaten my ex-girlfriend. Like when I got mad at her, I was just like, babe, if you don't cease and desist now, I'm going to shave my beard. That would always
the worst threat is? My wife lived through this, so I shaved this a little while ago. Every now and again, I'll give it a fresh start. I get the psoriasis under there or something, and I got to get it off. But what I did is I just took the beard and I left this big bushy 70s stash. She hated it. She like, no, it needs to go away. Stop kissing me.
So real quick, to kind of get things on track, because someone asked the chat, I think it's good. So who's your favorite? Well, this is an oddly phrased version. Who's your favorite
person? So like human?
Right, yeah. Well, all right. We could get that later. But I guess everyone's favorite X-Men characters go. Because I mean, obviously, one of the things I love about this is I like basically all these characters. You know what? Actually, even funnier. Let's go with before we get into our favorites, because it's probably easier to find the ones we don't like as much.
Cable.
Most of them are like Cable. All right, so who are your least favorite characters in the Claremont era? Because most of them are great.
Jubilee.
Jubilee, Psylocke, Shatterstar, obviously. Anybody with a sword or a gun, Bishop.
I liked Psylocke before they did the swap.
See, really? I thought she was boring before the swap, personally.
I think, it's hard to explain, but yeah, I think they at some point had a different idea for her, and I liked where it was going, and then all of a sudden, somewhere somebody changed their mind. Oops, sorry. Somebody changed their mind.
Betsy Braddock too. Oh, yeah. About Bishop, I forgot about Bishop. I hate Bishop too, because doesn't he have energy powers? Can't he like absorb and redirect?
He absorbs all energy. Yeah. Like basically, he can take Scott Summers' full force and absorb and direct all energy.
Isn't he a living gun?
I haven't. Cool. Bishop is after. Bishop is like
that's what a 12-year-old makes up.
Exactly.
Dazzler was an X-Man.
And what does his name Bishop have to do with his powers? You know what I mean?
I think
I would say
his
all
name,
right. So when it comes to so I'm going to give my this might Gateway we already talked about is fucking boring.
Yeah,
right.
He's barely an X-Man.
But I think one of the I'm gonna throw out one that I personally, and I've heard this character is great in other comics, but in this whole 16-something year run, never really gained my interest at any point. I think Polaris is boring.
Yeah.
Just another Magneto.
She's like, anytime she shows up, I'm like, I'd rather that be Magneto doing that.
She was better in X Factor.
That's what I heard.
Later on. Yeah, they did more with her with X Factor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also didn't like when they switched up Emma, the White Queen.
Yeah.
Right? Emma Frost. When they suddenly she could turn her skin into diamonds.
Oh, that was
stupid.
Later.
That was stupid. Yeah.
I never got to that. That was Morrison's run, right?
Was that? No, I think that was somebody else. I think that was before Grant Morrison.
Oh, was it before Morrison?
The White Queen, Black Queen, and all that, they were all better as the Hellfire Club. Once they started putting them elsewhere, it was just...
That should be villains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The face turn was stupid for her.
Grooming, horrible people.
Emma Frost was a monster.
Right.
Like people, because when I was reading the comics, I was like, oh, well, she's always a villain in all the movies, but she's in the animated show and all the comics, everyone said she's good. And I was like, oh my God, she's the worst.
No, Jeffrey Epstein doesn't all of a sudden get to, I'm good now.
And they paired
that was the thing I hated most. Oh God. That pissed me off so much. I stopped reading X-Men. Actually, I hate they didn't let her earn it. They gave her no redemption arc, nothing. Just all of a sudden, I'm good, and it's like, no, you're like the evil whore.
Yes,
yeah, at least
with something noble.
I was just gonna say, at least with Rogue, she took her lump, especially from Wolverine, because he did not give her a chance.
Yeah,
in the beginning. Yeah.
She literally sacrifices her life on that mission. She takes the shot from Madame Hydra, remember, Viper, and then she's I think they took that scene from the movie where he's like, no, absorb my stuff, Wolverine
kisses
otherwise you are going to die. that is when she earns it. Like she earns the redemption arc.
Plus, it's easy to forgive her because she was, despite the fact that she was drawn like a 40-year-old woman, she was supposed to be like a teenage girl.
Well, the funny thing about that, because I worked with
being taken advantage of by Mystique. She didn't know what she was doing.
No, she was being groomed. Yeah. But one of the things Michael Golden said that like he basically Chris Claremont didn't give the age of the character, and then after he drew the whole issue, he was like, "What? That was a teenager?" He's like, "Why didn't you tell me that?"
Oh, that explains the
that's also
stripe, the gray.
Well, no, the gray. The stripe in her hair was because Chris Claremont was like, oh yeah, she has a streak in her hair. Failed to mention the character was supposed to be black as well, based on I think Grace Jones was
Grace Jones, really?
Yeah. And but he just was like, Grace Jones, she has a streak in her hair. He's like, who's Grace Jones? Oh, she's someone with a streak in her hair. Chris Claremont just didn't mention that she was black. So like it was just a white chick with a streak in her hair. And then but yeah, I don't know, that was interesting. But yeah, I think, oh my God. So Polaris, now let's get into, before we get into favorites, underrated. Who from this run is like a star character that?
Can I just, my next least is Xavier himself.
Really?
Every 3 issues, the guy's a bad guy.
What?
He dies a lot too.
If he's not Onslaught, then he's the entity. Then
that's not Claremont's run. We're talking Claremont's run.
And even when he's a good guy, he's just like, man, that Jean Grey is a hot looking.
That wasn't a Claremont's run. That was we're talking about Claremont's run.
I know.
Underrated character.
Yeah. So does this include like the New Mutants too?
Yes, we're gonna go all of it.
Cyclops.
Cyclops is totally underrated. Everybody hates on Cyclops.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think he does get a lot of
He's my favorite.
hate for no reason.
Until they
not my favorite, but
Cyclops was my favorite until they turned him into a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
They turned him into a deadbeat dad. But I'm a sucker for the guy who he can't relax, he can't sit still, he can't enjoy his powers. It's an awesome responsibility. He's constantly worried that he's going to hurt somebody. Like him and Black Bolt, I really, really like because they need to be willpower personified or they can't fit in with society.
Right. I think what I like about him too is that he's not the most powerful character, but he's the best leader the team has. Right. Even Storm says that she admits he's a better leader. I think he always he'll have his moments, whatever, but he always keeps things together. And one of the arguments people make in this anti-Cyclops propaganda, I always see, is like, well, when Jean has her fake out death, like when the Magneto's base collapses and they're in the Arctic, he's like, oh, he barely grieves because he's so focused on keeping the team alive. He's literally not allowing himself to grieve the woman he loves. And people are like, that's selfish. No. That's selfless.
That's
the thing is everybody hates on Cyclops because he's such a tight ass, but it's just like, yeah, but you need him to be a tight ass.
Yeah,
he was kind of raised that way
for these people.
Yeah, he had a lot of responsibility put on him at a young age. He was kind of raised that way. Yeah.
Today's society, self-sacrifice is considered weird and bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
hero stories don't work. And they're always like, the modern writers literally agree with Magneto. It's crazy. Yes.
My underrated character would be Angel pre-apocalypse.
I love Angel pre-apocalypse. I like him after too, but I like him because one of the things he's not the best in a fight, but I still love
Dark Gift, Vaughn. That's a really, really weird way to come out of the closet.
What? By saying I like Angel?
Saying that you like Angel.
Really? You don't like Angel? His costume was fucking cool.
How is that coming out of the closet? The dude was a billionaire ladies man.
Dude, Candy Southern had the biggest
joke fell flat. It was a joke.
Candy, no, I like Angel a lot too.
Dude, his was it Mutant Massacre where he lost his wings?
They impaled him.
It was with Callisto, right? Was it when Callisto kidnapped him and hung him from those hooks?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember if it was Mutant Massacre or if it was
the second time is when he loses his wings, but the first time he does get kidnapped. So he always has bad experiences in those tunnels.
Just think about it from a different perspective. I don't think anybody's going to disagree. He's probably one of the least powerful X-Men.
but he's still goated.
Yeah.
He's still and he's still
But I'm
goaded.
saying,
He's still
I have a
goaded.
thing for weaker heroes. He's one of the least powerful X-Men.
Yeah.
He's going toe to toe with Sentinels and Magneto and all of these guys. He doesn't have I-beams. He doesn't have regeneration. He doesn't have armor. He's barely stronger than an Olympic athlete, and he's got wings that he can carry one person.
And he's got drip.
He's just a dude.
But he was like the heart of that team, especially the original team. Like later on, and then even like when, where did he go off to? Defenders? Was he part of the Defenders?
He went to the
Champions.
Him and Iceman, well, did he go to both? Him and Iceman? Because I remember it was like previously on Defenders, and it was like and Champions. I think they both went.
Yeah,
to,
Champions
they didn't know what the fuck to do with
was
those characters.
Yeah, I think that was Angel, Iceman, Black Widow, and Hercules,
and Ghost Rider.
And Ghost
That's
Rider.
a weird team.
Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, yeah.
But I mean, the Defenders was a really weird team too. That was the whole point of the Defenders. Was like
the
let's
Defenders,
take these characters,
the non-group.
Yes,
that drove me crazy as a kid. How could it be a non-group? A non-group is one person.
What do you mean?
Right, a non-group doesn't have a name.
But a non-group is not a group. That means it's one person. Like Phil Moskowitz, I'm a non-group because I'm an individual.
But it's always interesting to see what writers do when they're taking characters that weren't created as part of a team, right? Like the Fantastic Four, all those characters are there to sort of complement one another, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with the X-Men. When you take a group like the Avengers or the Justice League, you're taking these characters that are completely independent of each other, were created independently of each other, and then throwing them together and then just kind of seeing what happens. And of course, that can be a lot of fun, and that can be exciting too, depending on the writer and what they do with it.
And I think the tough part with Angel, because I love Angel. Like even when I was a kid and I saw like him in X-Men 3, even though that movie looking back isn't good, I don't know, something about him. I always loved Angel. Just the angel wings, I think, is really cool as an aesthetic and whatever. And I think he's a very likable character. Every time he shows up, like when he shows up in the Dark Phoenix saga, Jean is in the worst part of her life, and she sees, and it's like he puts everyone at ease. There's something about him that's just very endearing
because he was the heart.
Yeah. And then Angel when he abruptly quit, like when he joined after Dark Phoenix, I was like, and then when he quit, I was like,
I would have accepted Angel carrying a sword. Like, I know all the X-Men don't have weapons.
Yeah.
Like, first off, he's pretty weak. Second off, how cool is it? A flying guy coming at you with a sword or a spear like that, And
it's a biblical image too.
Right.
Yeah, very biblical.
And I love his costume. That halo.
Yeah, dude.
And that white. It's just perfect. It's a perfect
costume.
Yeah, that costume, that era's costume. Like, I think he went through a blue, a red, and a green. But I think the blue. The red was like the one that lasted the longest because that's what he wore in Champions and stuff like that.
That's the coolest one.
Although he had some bad costumes in the old X-Men comics. Like
I was looking at some of those. They were not good. Those old costumes. I think Angel's whole thing. The trouble is, really came down to the fact that his power. You look at him, and it's like, okay, he could fly. In the original X-Men team, that he was the only one that could do that. Makes sense. But then we got Banshee, we got Storm.
Jean Grey started to be able to levitate.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of like, well, shit. And so they needed to know what to do with the character. Now, did they need to destroy? I was initially like, oh God, Archangel. I was actually not looking forward to it. And Archangel ended up being one of my favorites.
Yes.
I love Archangel. Yeah. And I expected, because I loved Angel. Normally, people who like Archangel don't like Angel. I liked Angel, so I was like, "Oh God!" And I like Archangel too. I like both.
Yeah, the fact that he could throw his, feathers, as blades and whatever, that was cool.
Yeah, cool.
The mask thing, I liked when he started to pull the hood, because I think for a longest time, I think it was meant to be like that was like skin. I don't think it was supposed to be a costume at first. Yeah. And so when they kind of retconned it into a costume and he could pull it back and he still had the blonde hair, I was like,
oh, I didn't know that.
And then
he had like blue skin and blonde hair and then like the metal wings.
And then he got the regular wings back, right? Didn't they like?
Yeah,
he did. One of my favorite one of my favorite covers of all time, drawn by Joe Madureira, X-Men 338, I think. I might be off on the numbering. Is the cover of him, and he's like hunched down, and he like his face is out, and he looks worried, and you see his like wings, like the metal cracking off, and his old wings underneath.
Ooh.
Such a great fucking Archangel cover. Joe Mad drew some damn good X-Men back in the day.
Yeah, I know there's some great '90s art. I don't like after Claremont. I wanted to just take a break because but I think that all right.
It goes downhill after.
Yeah, I heard
Claremont. Yeah.
So I heard two underrated kings, Forge and Banshee, criminally under. Those guys held up the X-Men for like a solid 20 issues, and no one talks about it.
I know.
Oh yeah. Oh right.
Forge is on my list for sure.
I really like Forge. I think he's like an original character. Like before Forge, did anybody have his type of power? But the thing about Forge is, you can't come up with rules. Like he could just build anything.
No, his basically
So like one of the first things he made was that gun that took away everybody's powers. Well, where's that gun?
Like that gun only exists. Wasn't he kind of like basically like the X-Men's version of Wyatt Wingfoot?
Well, Wyatt Wingfoot didn't have super building genius powers. Wyatt Wingfoot was just a big tough guy.
Right.
But he was an American Indian, and he could like mutant understanding of machinery, so he could build anything. That's an NPC power. That's not a main character power. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was goated. He was so cool.
Like Forge was cool. Like the character, but you know what I mean? Like Q.
I went in again.
Q doesn't get his own movie.
No. But see, here's where the thing though. Forge is also a Vietnam vet who kicks ass in combat. He builds his own guns and he takes shit. Like that's one of the things I didn't realize because I just assumed he was just the tech geek, whatever. No, he throws down, man. Like when he's in the combat, one of the most underrated stories is that it's a 2-issue storyline where it's him, Banshee, and Jean Grey are in the tunnels with the Morlocks, and they have masks, and it's mutating everyone. And Forge is to take them down, and he's having PTSD because he's thinking about. He's like he failed to save his unit during the war, and he's like, if by saving his teammates now, it's like he's making up for past mistakes. And he gets up to the rooftop, and he's like, "This is for you guys." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like my favorite Forge moment. Like
the fact that when Storm went missing and like popped up as a kid, and then all that, and like they were on the hunt, like I think Forge, you could say, out of that little small era of X-Men team, right? Because it was like basically just him, Banshee, and who else was there? It was like
just those two. And then they get like slowly one by one they start building out the other.
Yeah, he would be I guess considered the leader of that. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Banshee was cool too, man.
I like Banshee. To me, he's part of like what was like the perfect X-Men lineup, right? The Byrne, Austin, Claremont era. Like
and
that
great
was like
costume.
the perfect lineup for the X.
Dude, his costume kicks ass. Man.
Nobody had the wings like that, before that.
Well, like flying squirrel wings, basically.
Yeah.
What I was surprised by was because everyone talks about that original era. No one talks like he was an integral part of that team.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was up there with like there were stories that revolve around. Like he was just as much as Colossus, Nightcrawler, and then I get that they phase him out, but I was like, wow, like he really. I was surprised by how prominent he was in that early.
Well, I mean, because of him, you get Juggernaut and Black Tom. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and then Moira, he cucks Charles Xavier.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, he does. He does kind of cuck Charles Xavier.
But Charles Xavier they kind of cuck each other because he runs away with an alien.
Right.
Wait on, do you think she loves him, or is she just like? Or does she like Banshee, or is she just like, oh, fuck you, you're going with the bird, all right, I'm going with the bird.
Moira?
Yeah, Moira saw that Charles was fucking an alien bird chick.
Well, when she showed up in the X-Men, they Charles and Moira already broke up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Banshee didn't do nothing wrong.
No, I'm not saying he did anything wrong. He's a good man. I like Banshee.
And I like that he's like 20 years older than the rest of the X-Men.
That's what I like too. I didn't realize that because I first exposed to the character was X-Men First Class when he was younger, and I didn't realize. Like, holy shit! I'm like, holy shit, he's younger than him. I didn't know that.
The scene in First Class where he's like flying, and using his voice basically to fly. That got like a fanboy boner out of me. I never thought I would see that in a movie.
It's funny that you say that because on my Sunday comics I'm talking about these early X-Men, and it always drives me nuts to see Banshee flying and talking at the same time.
Oh, that drove me insane. That drove me insane. There'd be word balloons. I'm like,
screaming.
Yeah, he needs.
And I think it would be cool if he was flying. And then he has to stop and catch his breath, and he starts to fall, and then catches his. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, isn't that why he had the wings though? So he could catch his breath, it caught the wind,
so he could navigate.
I just assume. Yeah. My whole thing is, I guess we just have to assume because I'm not drawing that extra page. I guess you just have to assume that happens in between, and then this panel was representative of like 30 seconds. And it's like, all right, that's how I try and take it, but it did bother the hell out of me.
Well, that's the odd thing about the comic book medium itself, is that you can do things in it that would be absolutely silly and preposterous in a live action film, for instance, right? And you can have like these lengthy discussions, right? These conversations between characters while they're beating the crap out of each other. And in the comic book page, it works. I don't know why, but it does.
I talk about this a lot, especially when I do my Sunday comics. I'll talk about a panel and how much words, because Mike Barron famously says people don't talk during a fight. At the very most, people like you idiot or asshole or they scream something. But a comic book panel, like we read a comic book page in a Z pattern, right?
Yes.
But we also read a panel in a Z pattern. Because so just look at this panel right here of us five. Pretend it's a page in a comic book. Vaughn says something. Then I respond. And then Pineapples responds. That's all one panel. But it's understood, even though we don't articulate it, that it's different points of time. Vaughn speaks first. Then I respond.
Right.
Then Dark Gift responds. So we understand that within the panel, it's not a moment of time. It's a little bit of what happens in the top right happens before the bottom. No, what happens in the top left happens before the bottom. So there is room for Spider-Man to punch Mysterio and then say, "You aren't going to get Uncle Ben or Aunt May, you big globe dome idiot," because a panel is more than a nanosecond.
And I don't know if you guys know any people like that literally don't know how to read a comic book.
My sister she hates comic books for that reason.
They don't know where their eye is supposed to go. And I remember like giving a copy of Six Gun to this person I really respect.
Hate reading that comic.
Well, it's just like
another joke fails flat. Man, I am bombing on
the Well, I mean, and I was like,
ladies and gentlemen,
I was like, well, like, do you know how to read a comic? And she was like offended. She was like thinking I was calling her stupid. And I was like, no, I mean, like, do you know where your eye is supposed to go? And so, if you didn't grow up with comics or you hadn't read one, maybe since you were like a really little kid.
There's a little bit of a learning curve, I guess. Like, I don't know how should I be like, wait, which comes first?
And that is really tough. Like, is anybody on this panel an artist? I know Vaughn and myself and Brian we're just writers. I can't draw to save my life.
If you draw.
I can't draw.
I do a mean stick figure.
You do draw, so like laying out a panel page is super important. Like,
yes,
like I saw a comic that I wasn't working on, but somebody sent me a page and it was just like, does this panel layout make sense? Which panel is first? And he actually had me draw 1, 2, 3, 4, and he was like, "Oh, perfect. Okay, I thought I messed it up."
Yeah, no, I've had that kind of thing. That's
I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, older comics were pretty much like it's pretty cut and dry, right? It's like you get the 3x3x3, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you have, but like as like, especially like towards like the late '80s and into the '90s and so on, like when panel layouts got like more creative, it can get a little like, wait, where am I going next? So it's like you kind of have to.
And sometimes they would put in those little arrows.
Right.
Yeah, when it was like really messed up.
When the editor was just like, "I'm sorry, this is not intuitive. We
It looks cool, like the art looks cool, but we got to give the people somewhere to follow."
Yeah.
So
I'm assuming that most of you have probably read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics.
Yep.
Where he goes into what's actually happening inside your head while you're reading a comic book. And there are a lot of people that are just kind of baffled by the medium. And that's why I'm happy that manga is as popular as it is in the United States right now, because at least you have a generation that's growing up with the medium. It's just they're going to look at American comics and be like, why is this printed backwards?
Right.
No, this is printed the way God intended.
All right, so we got to get to the. This is the longest way to get to this guy's question. What's your favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite?
X-Men.
Yeah, sorry about that. Favorite X-Men. Let's go. All right, my top three.
Yeah.
Are, and then I kind of have a couple honorable. I'll give you. So my tops probably right now are Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, Archangel, Havoc. Probably put Storm up there. And then we can go into like the obvious ones like Wolverine. I really like Forge and Banshee. I really do. Banshee would be in the top 10, but he's good. So, yeah.
I take Wolverine out right away because he's my favorite. So I just put him to the side because and that's probably that's basically like 90% of people's favorite. So after him, I would say Nightcrawler. And I actually like Longshot.
I like Longshot. He's
Longshot's tight.
Yeah, I like Longshot. I feel like he didn't get utilized as well as he should have been.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Or as long as he should have been.
Yeah, he's just kind of like bye. He's gonna leave.
Dude, the issue where I think Liefeld draws the issue 245.
245,
where they him, Wolverine, Havoc, and Colossus.
They go to the bar.
They go to the bar. Great. Dude, it's probably his best issue in his whole. I mean, other than I think the annual X-Men annual
10.
With the 10 with the babies, the X babies, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, one of the ones where the X babies are there. The X babies, they really seem to think that was they brought them up so much. Let's see.
In the annuals,
most homosexual list of all time, Vaughn. It's a good list. All right, there you go. Anyway, continue. Sorry, what were we saying? Longshot. I think Longshot was at his best in his miniseries.
Yep. Well, right. That's what I mean. When when they brought him over to the X-Men, they made him look cooler.
Yeah.
But they did nothing with him.
That's what I think. Yeah, he would be there, and they'd kind of be like, yeah. They would have moments where I'm like, yeah, they're really doing stuff with him, and then they'd go back to throwing him to the sidelines. He was like the 8th member of the team.
That would be a not uncommon thing all throughout X-Men. There were characters who could hold up a miniseries and who were great on their own, but sometimes there just isn't enough fucking room in a panel for all of the X-Men on the page. And there were who the writer liked most, because you would just see them sidle certain characters out of the story arc altogether and off the page, even if they were on the team, just because they more often than not, it always seemed like they just didn't know what to do with them. And I think that Longshot would be the victim of that. There would be times you would see Gambit disappear because I
think that's why they got rid of Banshee, is they were like, all right, he's been a core member this whole time. We don't know what to do anymore. I think Claremont was really good at that. He's like, okay, we don't have to kill off this character. We just have to go, okay, this character, I don't know what to do with them anymore. They're injured or they have to step away. He was very good at that, and it kept the roster feeling fresh. And if he ever needed them, right back.
Pull them right back.
And that's the great thing about having such a big cast of characters. Like, I mean, two of my favorites, Beast and Gambit. Obviously, setting Wolverine aside, because yes, great character, so much complexity to him. There's so much you can do with Wolverine. I felt like that Gambit is the same kind of character, though. He had depth and complexity to him, and there were times that I think he really got the proper treatment, but at times they just kind of shunted him to the side. And they could have done more with him. And the same thing with Beast. Beast is always great.
Beast?
Anywhere he's been, even in Avengers, I loved Beast. I love Beast no matter where you put him in.
Oh,
Such a great character.
And making him blue and furry was actually like one of the best moves they ever made.
Yes. Turning him in Grant Morrison, turning him into a fucking cat was a crime.
I hate that design.
That was bullshit.
Yes, that was terrible.
Yeah.
In fact, it was mutated even more.
Fundamentally changed the look of a character, with the exception of.
Well, they did that before.
Well, Hank McCoy turned it into the blue furry beast. But the thing is, I think that worked because the X-Men really weren't that popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Beast,
nobody knows him without fur.
He's just a guy with big hands and big feet.
Yeah, most people were introduced, like myself, to the Beast in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wasn't.
I literally didn't know that the Beast was from the X-Men until X-Men 137, that funeral of Jean Grey. I was like, this is, so that's like one of the few times changing the look. But then the Beast is established, and then they turn him into a cat. That just didn't work.
That was so
that
Beast design up again is great.
Grant Morrison.
Anybody like the Blue Lightning Superman? When they changed Superman.
Apparently, I've heard some people did, right? Didn't they?
I never understood that for the life of me. I'm sure it had something to do with copyright. I'm like, hey, this is a really interesting character idea you have here. Why is it freaking Superman? Just make a new character. Damn, guys.
Okay, so long shot. I think one of his highlights too would be an Inferno when all the X-Men get taken out and they look up and he's just like standing there. He's looking down on him. He's like he's the one that was lucky enough, and he has to hold them on just long enough for them to get back to like that was one of long shots. I think highlights. I think he had some highlights, but I think they kind of didn't know what to do with him. And I think the Outback, what do you guys feel about that era? The Outback era.
I liked it.
Controversial era. I did too. I think that the era itself was a mixed bag, but I think what it does well, and also Silvestri on art. I mean, come on.
Yeah. The only issue I had in the beginning was the only issue I had with it in the very beginning was that Nightcrawler, Kitty, and Rachel weren't with the team.
Yeah.
But then I picked up Excalibur, and I was like, okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
So
that's how I felt too. There was you're removing my favorites. Now they gave me Havoc, so that was a nice.
Silvestri Sentinel, dude, that is
Silvestri.
This is such a classic cover.
I think Silvestri may have surpassed Jim Lee as my favorite. I don't know.
For the X-Men era, his era of X-Men is so good.
So good.
I have a lot of problems with what Grant Morrison did. A lot of the characters, frankly, Grant Morrison brought in a lot of very crap X-Men characters that are completely meaningless and unnecessary, except for points that he made in the story with them. But there were some good ones. But yeah, Silvestri's, just this every issue for as long as Silvestri stuck with it. Oh, it was great, dude.
His Lady Deathstrike was badass.
Oh, dude, yeah. His it's he pivoted. They took him from X-Men and moved him to Wolverine. Him and Dan Green, and oh my god, that Lady Death, the Blood and Claws. So good, though, dude. Yeah, that you're talking about the Blood and Claws storyline, right? Where they fight in World War II. Dargift, you're talking about that Lady Deathstrike storyline?
Just the way his imagery of her, the way everybody that drew her always drew her a little exaggerated because of the fingers and stuff, but he did it in a way that was disturbing but cool. She went from being hot chick to a monster. You know?
Yeah.
And I think the way he drew the Reavers in general had that kind of effect. The Reavers were cool, but they kind of just fizzle out because there's no closure with that in Claremont's run. I don't know what happens after. You guys could spoil it. What happens after? You guys. Also, what happens with because they're all invisible to tech. What happened with that?
They forgot about that, right? Yeah,
they forgot about that.
Yeah. Sooner or later, like I guess it's easy to say that it wore off, but yeah, they just stopped talking about it.
What about Iceman's belt?
Iceman's belt. What was that? I don't even remember.
He lost control. So this is all right. So this is where I gotta.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember what happened with that either. Like just one day he had the belt
Oh,
to keep
yeah.
his powers under control, and then one day he didn't. Like what happened? Like where'd it go?
I remember that. Like Iceman completely lost control, and he turned into this like feral ice god looking crazy. Actually, really cool take on the character. And then I had that belt that kind of
I forgot about that.
reined that in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I think
everybody forgot about Iceman because of what they fucking did to him.
What they did to him, yeah. But I think like part of the reason why he needed it was right because then he got so cold that he like froze solid, right? Wasn't that like part of it? Or
all I know is that there's something happened in a two-issue Thor storyline that I didn't read, where Iceman gets kidnapped and he comes back. He's like, "I'm back. I can't control my powers." I'm like, "What the fuck happened on that mission?" So I don't know. But yeah, Iceman's cool. I don't know that it's weird because he has the look and the feel of a classic superhero down to his name and everything. But I feel like he's not most people's favorite, and he seems like he often would be.
I used to like the character a lot more. I just think that Marvel fucking wrecked him. They wrecked him. They systematically destroyed him like they would love to do to characters like Cyclops, Johnny Storm, the rest of them. Like any strong male presence.
They
just want to.
And then his boyfriend wrecked him in the rectum.
Oh my God!
Good saying.
There we go.
I was gonna say he finally landed a joke.
Nailed it right there. There we go.
I really like when he had spiky hair. See, that spiky hair, maybe I need to let it grow on me because the spiky hair is an interesting.
It bothered me. You know.
Don't
but I don't like it as much as. Who's yours?
Here's another controversial X-Men opinion. Wolverine was cooler when he was a mystery.
Yeah,
I don't think that's controversial at all.
Controversial.
I always liked him better as part of a team rather than a solo character.
Yep.
I love the Frank Miller miniseries. I thought that was great, but I never thought he should have had his own series.
No,
I think there was great uses of him in his own series at times, and he would do different things. The thing that fucked all that up was the origin. That that never should have been done.
Right?
They had to do it. They had to do it.
Weapon X did it in a way.
At some point,
he was the best as a psychopathic murdering guy that the rest of the team was always trying to constrain and help. He went through now. Then he's the wise sage. Now he's the teacher, and now he's this. You know, it's hard to believe that the guy who's like a sensei now having a tea ceremony in Japan is going to go into a berserker rage. You know,
exactly.
Well, no, that's why I like the character.
No, because Claremont basically made it like, you know, like without actually just having to tell you and like feed it to you on a silver spoon. He basically was like, the whole reason why he could be like that was because of Mariko.
Right.
Yes. Mariko. He actually described it to me this way. He said that Mariko is Wolverine's like human love, and Jean is like Cyclops' human love, but they're like eternal loves would be each other, which I found. I thought was interesting.
Like soulmates.
Yeah. Now, Brian. Oh, sorry. You first.
Oh no! Did Brian mention? Because we got onto the Wolverine thing. I'll touch back on that. But if Brian didn't say who his favorite
characters,
was,
and John, and then Brian, and then John, for your favorites.
Favorite X-Men?
Yeah.
Cypher.
I love Cypher
all the way. Doug Ramsey all the way.
He's your number one, really?
Brian is just sucking up to Vaughn right now.
No, I'm just. He's nobody's favorite.
No, but Doug Locke was pretty cool. I'll say that.
He was good.
Doug Locke when they merged Warlock and Doug Ramsey together, that that was cool.
Yeah, no, my favorite Nightcrawler's my boy. Nightcrawler's my boy.
Oh yeah,
by far, right? If I'm going down a list, then it becomes more difficult. I love Colossus, and I love the relationship between Colossus and Nightcrawler. It reminded me a lot of the relationship between Legolas and Gimli in the Lord of the Rings stories, right? Because there were people that were supposed to be natural enemies. And of course, this wasn't too long after World War II, and you had a German and you had a Russian that were tight.
Yeah.
And then, my God, Beast, what can I say? I love my Blue X-Men.
Yeah. Beast is great.
That's good. I never thought of that. The Russian and the German getting along.
Yeah, well, it's weird. They were like best friends early on, and it felt like they fizzled that out for Wolverine and Nightcrawler later on. But it used to be in the earliest issues, the Cockrum days, it was Colossus and Nightcrawler. And I feel like in the Byrne days, it shifted to.
Well, Byrne liked Wolverine, but the original Wolverine, he didn't like anybody.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Wolverine takes a while to grow on you, like in the comics. Like he's a dick in those early issues.
Yeah, he is. But he has a nickname for Nightcrawler. He calls him Misfit, right?
Yeah. Fuzzy Elf.
Kitty, of course, called him Fuzzy Elf.
Yeah.
Kitty was also definitely afraid of him when she first met him.
Kitty Pryde is one of the best.
Great characters.
Then we have I didn't think Jubilee was as bad, but every time she opened her mouth, I'm like, I wish Kitty Pryde was here.
She was a poor substitute for Kitty and a Timu version of Dazzler. Like that, she was just.
That's
the only good thing about Jubilee was her very first introduction where she sneaks in and she helps Wolverine, and then after that I felt like they were just like, okay, now what do we do with her?
The trio of her silent.
Yeah,
there was never. Cool. They turned her into a freaking vampire. They had no idea so much what to do with the damn character. Just kill her off already. Like nobody's gonna miss her. All right,
is criminally underrated, by the way. Criminally,
one of my favorite characters. Yeah. She should always be Phoenix, forever.
I was always disappointed they never did more with Cannonball. I liked his power set. I liked the idea of his origin. Like he was cool. He looked cool. Like his powers manifested while he was trapped in a coal mine in Kentucky. Like he's got this and such a. He was always at least written as such a relatable, nice guy. Yeah. This. Yeah. Like an old Southern guy, but he's a young dude. And he just had this really cool, relatable niceness about him.
Oh shucks, country boy thing.
Yeah, I like when they take
exactly. I love that.
I like when they take country boys and they make them good people that aren't bumpkins and stupid.
Yeah.
Yes, he was never written that way. I love that.
Average.
No. Wait, when he first came out, even when they first introduced New Mutants, and he was super young. He wasn't bumpkin. He wasn't stupid, but he came from he was naive,
right?
Coming out of small town rural America into New York. Even though it's upstate New York, it's still New York. They did a good job of showing you that he wasn't a redneck dumbass, but he was I don't want to say sheltered, but he was a good old boy. He was a young
exactly.
Yeah.
Didn't he have to provide for the family too? So he almost didn't go to the school.
Yep.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, he worked in a coal mine. His powers manifested during the collapse.
That's
I mean,
and
he shot out of the coal mine, and it's that's such a great beginning for him.
Because it deserves its own thing, but New Mutants is the shit, man. Yeah. I went in knowing nothing about those characters, any of them. And I walked away going, these are some of my favorites. Dude, they're down to their first graphic novel, the way they're all written, the way they all grow on you. We're talking about a character that is so useful, but you could just tell that Claremont had too much on his plate because that happens. Magma, dude. She's Magma is objectively the most powerful of the New Mutants character, and she does fucking nothing.
The only issue with the New Mutants was that they were students forever. At a certain point, they weren't kids anymore. They as far as experience in battle. At that point, you got that's why the whole shift to X-Force made sense.
I agree. They overstayed their welcome was the problem. Because I loved the New Mutants. There was no low points. And Claremont's whole run was great. First 54 issues. And then Louise Simonson's was pretty good, but it was kind of getting spotty. And then they're like, oh, fuck. Okay, we switch headmasters. Okay, that headmaster's now. What the fuck do we do? All right, half the team is gone. Magic's gone. Danny Moonstar's gone. Cypher's gone. Warlock's. What the fuck? Let's bring in Rob Liefeld. Give us a cable. Fuck it. You throw him in there. And you could tell they were freaking the fuck out. What do we do with this book?
And then he brings in Slade Wilson, Deadpool. And then he spends his entire career, just to shit on Rob Liefeld about one thing really quickly, he spends his entire career trying to own Deadpool when he never, like, all he did was draw and create a Slade Wilson clone. Joe Kelly created the Deadpool everybody loves because he gave 100. Deadpool the personality. I have the compendium up there of all of Joe Kelly's stuff. Joe Kelly created that character, not Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld created a Slade Wilson clone. That's all he did.
Right, I think he made like
that costume actually in the lot.
Yeah, I think to give him or whoever was writing a little credit. He had a couple of one-liners, but it wasn't like the off the wall like lunatic commentary that you got like you said when Kelly took over.
It's another unpopular X-Men opinion. New Mutants should have been canceled at 83.
Should have been what?
Canceled at issue 83.
What was 83 again? Was that when Magic League?
One didn't Cable show up in 84?
Yes. I knew where he was going. I was gonna wait. But going back to your Wolverine thing, yeah, I didn't mind so much with Wolverine when they gave like little hints of his past.
Yes.
Like the Wolverine series. So I like the Wolverine series. So issue 10 with the flashback to Sabretooth.
Dude, one of the best, the Sienkiewicz inks on Buscema.
That issue is still to this day one of my favorite. Like, and it's so iconic. Him climbing the mountain shirtless and like shoeless, and like they've used that in movies like how many times already? Like him climb. Yeah, that's how iconic that panel is, and just to think that like you like. Is it his father? Is that his father? And like then later on to turn him into his brother was like so stupid.
See, that's what I liked about it. Like you're saying, the mystery. That's what's missing from Wolverine today.
Yeah. Like Weapon X. Oh, I'm sorry again.
No, even when they'd introduce him, they'd be like, "Oh, he like the Japanese would speak up and he'd start speaking Japanese." Like, you speak Japanese? It's like, yeah, you never asked. Like the way they'd unveil it. Or they'd have someone shows up from his past. Yeah. Like there's even like that Spider-Man Wolverine. That, by the way, that deserves its own episode. Amazing. But Spider-Man versus Wolverine, where like they'll have people come from his past, and then he's like, "Yeah, I knew this person from way back then. You did this? Yeah, I did that back in the day." He somehow did everything under the sun.
Yeah, like when they would like do certain things like that, it's like, wow, he really is old, because they would hint at like his age, but like you didn't know how old, right?
Right.
Like
I remember one of the most exciting things about Wolverine, I think it was in a Captain America comic when they did a flashback of Captain
America. No, it was Magic Nights.
They showed Wolverine, as a grunt.
Yeah.
268.
Yeah, I remember me and my friends were like, oh wow, if he regenerates, he could probably stay young. Yeah. We were like generally excited about that. That was like
the issue of Uncanny X-Men where it's got him, Black Widow, and Captain America on the cover. That all takes place back in like the 60s or something, or 50s or something like that. So it's like even like you're like, oh wow, even Black Widow's got like a little longevity to her. Like,
got the Russian
serum or whatever. Yeah, but like Weapon X was cool. Like but like. Just to see how like the adamantium actually did get put on, but like that's where it should have ended. Like if you were gonna give like a solid thing, like that was cool. Just because I mean, it was well written and Barry Windsor Smith's art is phenomenal. So like you give it a pass for that, but then to like just ride with that and then like just like, oh, we're gonna we're going to give you this. We're going to give you this. Oh, the bone claws were so stupid. I can't stand the bone claws. Like,
I know. Here's the thing. Marvel felt like they had to do it, that they had to give him a origin because they were like, well, sooner or later, somebody's going to tell that story, and it's probably going to be in one of the movies, so we might as well do it in the comics.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, like, that's what it was.
Well, I mean, they could have done it better, but that's the reason why they.
But like the brother thing and like,
terrible.
So stupid.
Yeah, and the whole idea
Oh, yeah.
of Sabretooth being his arch enemy also stupid because it's too obvious.
What do you mean?
You know what?
Sabretooth is
Here's
his arch
another
enemy.
controversial Wolverine opinion.
What do you mean?
X-23, she's a clone of Wolverine, right?
Mhm.
Basically,
So
that they
if I was
made
still
it to a
writing
girl.
the X-Men, all of a sudden people would start to notice that Laura Linney, is that her name, the character?
Laura Kinney.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden
Yeah.
she looks different and she looks weird. And like, what's going on? People in the comics could be like, oh my God, like Laura Linney's like trans, because she would start to look mess, and she would literally look like
What?
she regenerates into its Wolverine cells.
See, I don't like this idea. I don't like this idea.
That's funny.
She's
It's all
Wolverine.
hairy.
Yeah,
Vaughn's got a crush on Laura Kinney
I don't.
apparently over here.
Not
Is what we're finding
anymore.
out right now.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
but
Not that version.
I liked Sabretooth as Wolverine's arch enemy, but only when like I thought it was his father. Like so like
His father is an interesting. I never thought of it that way.
so like when because that was Claremont's original plan was
I
for
didn't know that.
Sabretooth to be Wolverine's father. They didn't turn him into the brother till way later. Like in issue 10 of Wolverine, it's like heavily implied that it's his father.
I didn't
Because
know this.
he's saying how much older than him he is, and it's almost like he's like the deadbeat dad, like not deadbeat dad, but like abusive father, and he's like, I'm coming back on your birthday every year. You know, like
the brother retcon was not a great one. I didn't even need to know who Sabretooth was
because I grew in. I came in and read the comics after the fact, so it was almost like I had to kind of take everything that I learned and try and shove it back here. And if I had read that fresh in my mind without being poisoned by the later stuff, I would have picked up on that. But I just didn't. It didn't even register as a possibility.
Also, Claremont heavily implied that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mother or father. You know,
Yes.
but he originally implied that it was his mother, and then the twist was going to be Mystique and Destiny.
Yes.
But I think Jim Shooter put the kibosh on that.
Yeah,
yeah, they were going to be gay. Yeah.
And it wasn't Sabretooth supposed to be the father, right? Wasn't that?
No, it was. So the birds and the bees were different with those two. So they were lesbians.
Mystique should shape change.
Yeah,
to me, she's one of the legit characters that could be trans. Once you shape change and could turn your body, like she could rewrite her DNA and and give herself male organs, and impregnate her girlfriend. To me, that was like they're mutants. That's her power. You know what I mean? She could shape change. I'll buy that.
No, but wasn't Nightcrawler's original parentage supposed to be Mystique and not Mystique and
Mystique and Destiny.
One that could see the future.
I'm sorry, say that.
Mystique and Destiny.
No, the original idea was supposed to be.
No, that was the original idea. The original idea was Mystique and Destiny were his parents.
Yeah.
So she morphed into
a man. She was going to be the father.
And fucked the shit out of Destiny.
Right, but Claremont shot that down, no?
No, Claremont came up with that.
Claremont
shot that down.
Shooter shot it down.
Yeah.
So he kept it, but he just couldn't say it.
But
so
wasn't
that's why they're
who
always
was the red
raising...
guy?
Oh, that was Azazel? That was like in the early 2000s. That was this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Like,
what am I thinking of from the early
90s?
You know what? Dark Gift, I think you're right. I think they started to lean towards Azazel being the father later on.
But that was never in Claremont's
outright said it was Destiny.
Right, to explain.
I think you might be right.
But if you read the comics, and maybe it's because I knew it going in, it's pretty obvious that Mystique and Destiny were meant to be a couple. Like, they're always loving on each other.
Well, yeah, they were a couple. Yeah.
Because they could never literally say it. Because I was, certain people like Joe Sontag, for example, were like, well, they weren't a couple because it wasn't said. I'm like, they literally weren't allowed to say it. But they would be like holding each other, like lovingly.
No, they kissed at one point.
They couldn't literally kiss, but
no, I will go through my X-Men run right now.
I don't think they weren't allowed.
I don't know if they kissed, but like when I was in 6th grade, I knew that they were a couple.
Yeah, everybody knew they were a couple.
Yeah.
Well, they would say "I love you" to each other. Like, I mean,
they had a daughter they raised together.
Right.
Rogue, they were clearly gay. And that was another thing too. Claremont, again, going back to the diversity stuff, he did it better than any of these
Right, because he gave them all personalities. He gave them subtlety.
Yep.
And their sexuality.
They weren't perfect just because they were. He wasn't trying to create the perfect gay icon.
Right, they were
Mystique was a
flawed.
fucking villain. She was a terrorist, but she was also lesbian.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't.
Well, and the great things that he did too is he actually did the thing that nobody can do today, as opposed to, I don't know, race swapping Cyclops. He just made original characters.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, the New Mutants,
there you
there
go.
was like one white guy on the original team.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was there was a lot of native characters in his works. There
in
was
his
a lot.
defense, Cannonball was the whitest guy ever. You know,
to balance out. Yeah, to balance
And
out.
he didn't what I appreciated is he didn't treat him like shit about it either. Like today, if they did that, he'd come flying out of the cave with a Klan hood on or something. If they wrote him today,
or
he'd be like, I denounce
when you were
my
14
past.
years old and you were working in the mine, you didn't realize it, but you had privilege.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yup.
Yeah, and
that's
then-
ridiculous. But I mean, the thing that made the X-Men so I don't know, perfect in terms of relatability was the fact that different people would read different things into it.
Yeah.
That is to say, they would see the X-Men as representing gay people. Would
Yep.
read it and be like, "Oh, this is about being about gay people." A Jewish friend of mine read it and was just like, "Oh, this is about Jewish people," so on and so forth, right?
Right.
And you could just fill in the blank.
Right.
And
That
the one
was
thing-
literally a randomness that you
Unknown.
put in what you wanted. That was the brilliance of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you could do that, but what's great is everybody reads that intention into the creation of it. When Stan Lee has been recorded multiple times saying, "I just didn't want to make up Power Origins anymore."
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like you have these characters that are created, and then somebody else comes along and they really sort of redefine that character, and then characters, and then that becomes
And let's face it,
immortal version.
We got 5 people on this panel. We got a bunch of people in the chat. Every one of us, when we were 13, 12, 11 years old, thought there was something wrong with us. We were different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like even
Yeah.
though we grew up to be, except for Vaughn, normal people. You know, we all,
Not even close. But
All right, Vaughn still got some growing up to do. It's all right.
and
Yeah, he's only 18, John. Give him a minute.
you know,
Oh, I
us
ate
boys,
down every street.
we are the X-Men.
Young
Vaughn
buck.
is the new
Of
mutant.
course, we're going to snap on you. But I mean, it's just like, also, one of the things that I always interpreted the X-Men as representing was comic book fans, right? Because
nerds.
it's like,
Nerds.
back
Yep.
in the day, there was no geek chic. If
No.
you were a comic book geek, you paid a heavy social price.
I
There
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
gold.
When you put your Batman T-shirt on, until the movie came out. If you did it pre
Yes.
Michael Keaton, if you put your Batman T-shirt on and went to school, you knew like that that was like a sign of like I don't give a fuck because
Yes.
you knew you were gonna get picked on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
And I didn't give a fuck.
I was
didn't
on
give
my
a fuck.
high
I
school
never-
That
team,
shit.
and I was deathly afraid of the guys on the team finding out that I played Dungeons and Dragons and read comics.
See, and that was the thing. Like when I was a kid, I never understood why they called this shit popular culture or pop culture. I'm like, this shit's popular. Nobody's reading this stuff. It's
don't
me
think
and 5 guys at the comic shop on Monday.
See, I don't think comic books were considered pop culture back then until
Use the term pop.
They always
culture, but I
referred
was
to
a
it
kid.
as pop culture, though.
because pop culture I think back then was more like music and movies, and this was more of a subculture, to pop culture. So
And
maybe
you know
that's
what? I
why.
will argue, geek chic is something that only exists in the movies and the TV shows, the books, the floppies behind me and on the wall. Maybe a little bit those more, but they're still not all that popular. They're not. You go to the comic shop, it's the same 5 guys that were me 20 years ago in there on a Wednesday, getting their box pulls, talking shit about it, and there's not nearly as many stores left because they're still not that popular.
Generation is not picking up on it. I know because I tried
It's the
for
movie.
years to get people.
I mean, well,
They're into the
well,
movies,
they are,
they're into the video games,
Yeah.
they're into the Funko Pops. They're not into
my
the comics.
kids are. I'm making my kids get into it. You just got to find the stuff the kids want.
Well, that's
like
the thing.
Sonic.
Most of the kids
love-
that are into it get into it usually through
Kids
a
love
parent.
comics.
Well, yeah, that's the way it happens.
Or-
I'm
or-
reticent to do that, but they love Sonic. So.
Or a friend. No,
I'm
I,
going to go to bed soon, so
Yep.
I'll bring up my next controversial X-Men opinion.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The Phoenix Force was a bad idea.
Ooh, what do you mean?
Oh, snap.
the Phoenix Force was a terrible idea. Jean Grey
Too
turned
OP.
into the Phoenix. What does a mythological Phoenix do? It comes back from the dead. She already had that power because, you know what I mean? Like, the name defines everything. So Jean Grey goes to the moon. She sacrifices herself, kills herself. And then 20 issues later, 30 issues later, 5 years later in real time, they find some amnesiac naked girl walking down the street. And like, this is Jean Grey. And
they found her underwater.
She was burnt. She literally rebuilt this. Or somebody goes on the moon and they find her wandering in the blue area of the moon. She rebuilt herself from her own power to molecule by molecule, like Dr. Manhattan. She has no memory. And all of a sudden they all realize it's going to happen again. Like a Phoenix. She's going to build up in power. She's going to turn evil. She's going to explode. She's going to die. And it's going to go on forever. The Phoenix Force removed the agency. It removed. Now anybody could be the Phoenix. Savage Dad, you could be the Phoenix. Brian, you could be the Phoenix.
I know the whole Phoenix Force thing jumping. Yeah, the different people.
The problem is they never really explained it, which was fine. But then they kind of explained it as a for
like a minute. They tried to turn it into the fucking Green Lantern Corps, and that like turned me way off. So I kind of agree with John on this. It was too OP. It was something most people later didn't necessarily understand. If they'd have called it something else or made it something else or done something else with it and let it die, made it something that would die off.
This is why I said earlier, like Rachel Summers should have just been the Phoenix. Like the explanation of her getting the Phoenix Force because she was Jean Grey's daughter made sense.
Yeah. Well, it was confusing how she gets it. She like smashes the globe or whatever. Like they don't explain it. That was the problem I had with the Phoenix Force. It just kind of happened.
I think it would have been so cool, like the Fantastic Four.
But Rachel is cool. My problem is she controls it too easily.
Or in the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans go to the blue area of the moon, and a Talon crashes down and everything like that. And then one of the Inhumans is just like farming, and he just sees this naked redhead just come walking. You know what I mean? And Black Bolt's like, and next thing you know, they call like the Avengers and everybody together. And like
the way they brought Jean back, there were like 10 different ways they could have done it, and they chose like the worst option.
She rebuilt.
The first way they brought her back was and I remember this was very divisive in the comic book fan community. When there was the news that they were bringing Jean Grey back, a lot of the fans felt very betrayed.
Right, that was one of the best comic books of all time.
Yeah.
I still think they shouldn't have brought it back, but I would have accepted it if they just said her name is Phoenix. Of course she's coming back.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Like, but they removed all accountability in typical woman fashion. She took no goddamn accountability.
And Chris Claremont.
Exactly. If your name is Spider-Man, you get webs and you stick to walls. You know what I mean? If your name is Colossus, you get to be big, metal, and strong. If your name is Phoenix, you fire and regeneration or revivification are your powers.
Yeah. But here's the thing: the way they did it was so fucked up.
They did it the worst way. They removed all agency from her. It wasn't Jean Grey.
It wasn't Jean Grey. She was alive the whole time. She was just underwater, like in this. Like,
that was so stupid, and she forgot everything interesting that she did as a character. I'm like, I don't care, because I care the most about Jean when she was Phoenix. So when she's like, "Oh, I don't remember any of that," I'm like, "Bitch,
yeah, but this wasn't her."
I was like,
"You're right."
I didn't even think about that in an interview.
So Jean Grey never should be wearing the Phoenix costume because she should always be Marvel Girl. You're right. I never even thought about that. She was never Phoenix then. Jeez, that's
But then they kind of went back on it with the memories of Madeline, so she kind of gets them, but kind of doesn't. It was such a clusterfuck. You could tell that like it was like they did not have a great plan for bringing Jean back, and it's just
they didn't have a great plan for her or her kids. I mean, her history is almost as clusterfucked as Cable's is.
Well,
it's so bad, dude.
I'm gonna drop another bomb now. X Factor was a bad idea.
X Factor was the weakest.
Which X Factor?
The original. We're gonna bring back the original X-Men. That because of that. Oh, Jean Grey's alive. So now Scott Summers is just abandon his wife and turn into irreversibly damaged. That was a terrible idea. Now they could have brought back the original X-Men, but they could have done it like
10 times.
They find her on the moon, and now they they get everybody else to get her together again. Madeline Pryor is like, why are you going there? Because this is my teammate. We fought together. You know, I still love you. Like,
Madeline Pryor was the reincarnation of Jean. Have that be it.
And now we're going to capture other mutants, make people scared of mutants, but we're the good guys because we're really saving the mutants when we kidnap them. It was the stupidest idea.
Which is why they threw it out 8 issues.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like you have to understand that Chris Claremont had been interviewed and he'd been asked, like, you know, are you going to bring Jean Grey back? And he was like, hell to the no. Because he said that would leave the fans feeling betrayed.
Right.
Yep.
And that's exactly how I and, you know, a lot of other fans felt. And then suddenly, you know, to retcon shit so that, like, wait a second. So everything that happened with Jean Grey when she was Phoenix, that wasn't Jean Grey. That was this thing that thought it was Jean Grey. And the whole time she was like underwater. So all of that shit that happened, all of the interactions between her and Scott, none of that like sort of really happened.
All that character interaction, you know, development.
Yeah.
It felt like
all that. Oh yeah, that set the stage.
Right, John.
See you, John.
Peace out, John.
Everybody.
Good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah.
Prof, you got to step away.
Later, John.
Right?
Good hanging out every
time,
man.
Good night.
Sounds good. Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, what happened with Jean Grey and Phoenix Air and the whole resurrection thing. That kind of set the stage for what, like, all of comics. Anytime somebody dies, that was like the genesis of like, well, there's no stakes when comic characters die anymore. Who fucking cares? Kill Batman, kill Captain America.
Well, and again, it wasn't even that.
Never mattered.
All right, so what her coming back did have consequences for Scott, you know. But the thing, all right, so even all right, I gotta defend something with Scott real quick. People act like he just walked out on his wife, no hesitation. But I reread that scene. He goes, like, so he admits that like he still kind of thinks about her sometimes. They made it, but he goes, he's like, she's very unreasonable in this moment because she just came back from the dead. His old love came back from the dead. She goes, if you walk out that door, I'm leaving. So he's supposed to not go see this woman who just came back from the dead. Like, that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
But then what happens is he walks out, and then when he has every intention of coming back, he has like a goodbye kiss to Jean and basically goes, I'm going back to them. I swear my loyalty to them. And then what happens? He goes back to them, and she's kidnapped. And people are like, oh, she just abandoned them. No, he was tirelessly searching for them. And people forget that. And it's like,
that's why I never go with the deadbeat dad thing either.
Yeah, it's not even true. We momentarily stepped away to see the woman who came back to fucking, and then
a little closure. He just needed a little closure, right? Like, glad that you're alive, thank God, but
he chose to be a loyal husband, and he worked tired, like the whole series to an annoying degree was, where are my wife and kid? Where are my wife and kid? Where are my wife and, that was the whole, which X Factor, by the way, mess of a series. I think it was great at times, terrible at others. It had an identity crisis, right? Because right out the gate, it was a forced resurrection. These characters are from all over. I like the idea of getting the original X-Men together. Then immediately we're like, hey, what if we made Beast like not Beast anymore? Hey, what if we made him big and dumb? Remember that shit? That was fucking stupid.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And then what if he gets kissed by like a succubus and then becomes Beast again for some retarded reason? You remember that? Infectia? And then what if Angel, it's like that series had such an identity crisis. And what if Jean Grey was, every character in that series had an identity crisis. And what if Jean Grey was like fucking, I don't even know, like didn't have her memories? So she didn't remember anything interesting, but then maybe she gets them later. What if Iceman has to wear a fucking belt? And I liked some of it because they always had conflict going on, but it was frustrating almost to an annoying degree because and I get it. Like, I think Louise Simonson is a good writer, but there were times where I'm like, there are too many wrenches. I'm like, okay, let them at least enjoy themselves for like 5 seconds. But I did still. I liked. I had mixed thoughts. All right, Prof, you got to head out?
Yeah, I got to jump out. I'm getting ready for dinner here, so. But it's good hanging out, guys. Good talking.
Yeah, have a good night, man.
Peace out, dude.
All right. See you later, guys.
I actually have to boogie too. But thank you so much for having me, bro. This was a really fun discussion.
Yeah, well, we could do more. I mean, listen, we have what, the 16 years and hundreds of.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I guess before we go, best storyline from Claremont.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good idea.
You guys have any favorites?
Best storyline from Claremont's run.
Well, hold on. Okay, I guess this does. All right. What is your favorite? And then we'll call it.
Best storyline from Claremont's run. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be. Oh man, it would have to be the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I don't want to give the basic bitch answer, but it is the best story. Because I'm like because I want to say like there's I like Inferno a lot.
Well, so much happened. I mean, like during that era is like when Kitty came on, and Inferno was good. Yeah, I would say that.
I mean, Dark Phoenix. If we're talking to self-contained, those 9 issues are just bliss.
Yeah,
and it's like I'd love to sit here and be a hipster, but it's like it's number 1 for a reason, and I hate to be that guy. Yeah, it's fucking good.
Yeah,
Dark Phoenix. I would put Mutant Massacre, Inferno up there too.
Mutant Massacre. What was the other one? Not Mutant Massacre.
Fall of the Mutants.
Fall of the Mutants. Yeah. That was pretty good. But yeah, no, Dark Phoenix. There was a lot of emotion in that.
Yeah.
And
that's again when Jean came back and they're like, yeah, she does all that character development. She didn't go through that. I was like, fuck. Why did you even bring her back?
Didn't they retcon that though later on? Like somehow she got the memories.
40 issues later.
Yeah, she finally got the memories because people were like, "Yo, so that means like all that stuff like doesn't count, right?" Like, so like I know what John was saying. Like for me, like if the Phoenix Force did actually possess her, right, rather than cocoon her and then like I don't know, clone her or whatever, take her form. Then it wouldn't be so bad because then then you can do something to the effect of her actually resurrecting, and then maybe she rejects the Phoenix Force, and then that's how Rachel gets it. Like, because Rachel I think was the better Phoenix. I'm gonna be honest with you as far as like the Phoenix goes, but because I know you said earlier like she can control it too good, but go back and read those early X-Men issues and even Excalibur issues. I mean, she put on a good show, but
yeah, she was a great.
It was hard for her. Yeah,
I think no, I agree with you. Also, she was. Listen, if a woman walked up that hairstyle, normally I'd be like, no, fuck out of here.
Yeah, but this was the 80s.
No, Rachel Summers though.
Yeah, this was the 80s. Different time.
A lot of BDSM shit in Claremont's run, like a lot of it. There's the one issue where she's walking around and then someone else is in her costume for some reason and goes, why are there all these things poking into me? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
she was like in a punishment.
Because she was a slave.
I know. Yeah. She was into some shit.
And I think if I remember, the reason why she kept wearing the costume was because she had to hunt her own. So it was more like a penance thing.
Yeah. That was no. Rachel was criminally under. She was only there for like a brief period of time, and during that time, like she had one of the coolest backstories. She had such interesting arcs. Everything she did was interesting. Wolverine tries to fucking kill her. That was crazy. Yeah. That to me, I was like, what? I was like, you kill people all the time.
Yeah. It's Claremont, man. Yeah,
he was a shit. But no, I love that. Anyway, I'll have to do this again, but this was a lot of fun. Anything you want to shout out? I think I'm going to call it, and then I have my launch tomorrow, so I think I'm going to get some sleep.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're launching tomorrow. What you call it? No, we just today launched the sign up for Billy Power Max's Last Days of the Bad Moon. So if you go to darkgivecomics.com/badmoon, you can go over there and sign up for that. And then while you're there, just check out everything else. Damn Dirty Thing, Lightbringer 2, which is we're going to be fulfilling. And what you call it? We're going to probably do a closeout stream on that in like a week or two. So.
Oh, good shit.
Yeah.
Next time, Vinny. Sorry, I didn't even see your message. I didn't know you were reading Claremont's run, dude. Message me about that, Vinny. I had no idea. But we were talking the whole thing. We could break it down to chunks in the future. But Yeah, we kind of went all. It was a messy. I should have done more with it, but I think we had fun just going all over the place.
You should have like a plot-lined course.
Yeah. I don't know, or no, even just like a discussion. We kind of went all over, but I had fun with it anyway, so I don't really.
Yeah. I think we kind of held. We went off, but we kind of held it. And I came in late, so
yeah. Well, no, you came in. It was like that the whole time. To be honest.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was fun.
Of course, man. Of course. All right. So you have a good one, and I'm just gonna do a hard out. Peace.
Later.
All right.
We call ourselves Phenomenova. Yesterday, the Stormbearers, a deadly group of mercenaries, took control of a nuclear reactor. Before we arrived on the scene, Galvanite, a superpowered teenage boy, attempted to stop them. He failed. His story ended there that day. Ours began shortly after. Today, I sift through the memories of that day. I will put the pieces together, and we will bring those responsible to justice.